The crystal halls of the Galactic Council gleamed under artificial stars. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat in floating chairs arranged in perfect circles. Each species had earned their place here through centuries of proof. Proof of their civilization, proof of their worth, proof of their right to exist among the stars. Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Alliance stood at the center podium. His blue skin shimmered as he spoke. His voice carried the authority of a species that had ruled space for over 2,000 years. The translators worked perfectly, sending his words to every mind in the chamber. Council members, Veltar began, we gather today to discuss a rather amusing petition. A species calling themselves humans has requested membership in our great confederation. Soft laughter rippled through the chamber. The Zephyrian hive mind buzzed with shared amusement. The crystalline Christek sang harmonious notes of mockery. Even the massive Vorthok rumbled what passed for chuckles in their deep voices. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat alone in the petitioner's chair. She was small compared to most beings here. Her brown skin looked plain next to the exotic colors and textures around her. Her simple uniform seemed primitive beside the energy-woven clothes of advanced civilizations. She listened without speaking, her dark eyes taking in everything. Veltar touched a control, and images filled the air above the chamber. A small blue-green world appeared, spinning slowly. This is Sol 3, the origin world of these humans. Our surveys show it to be what we classify as a Class 12 death world. More laughter. Death worlds were places where nothing civilized could survive. They were used as punishment colonies or mining outposts, nothing more. The gravity is crushing, Veltar continued. The atmosphere is toxic oxygen. The weather systems are violent and unpredictable. Massive predators roam the surface. The very ground shakes and splits open. Ocean storms can destroy continents, and somehow these humans not only survive this nightmare world, they think they belong among us. The images changed. Now they showed human cities, human technology, human spacecraft. Everything looked rough and basic compared to the smooth, elegant designs of civilized species. Look at their technology, Veltar said with disgust. Chemical rockets for local travel. Primitive fusion for power. Their computers are mechanical instead of bioorganic. They still use metal and glass for construction. Their fastest ships barely reach half light speed, and only with the help of technology they clearly stole or were given by others. Ambassador Chen finally spoke. Her voice was calm and steady. We developed our technology independently. We had no contact with other species until 5 years ago. The chamber erupted in shocked chatter. Developing space travel without help was considered impossible by most species. The civilized way was to be uplifted by older, wiser races who would guide primitive beings into proper society. Veltar regained control. Even if that ridiculous claim were true, it only proves how dangerous these creatures are. They developed weapons before art, war before culture. They reached space not to explore, but to escape their dying world and spread their violence. More images appeared. Human history played out in the air. Wars, conflicts, destruction, cities burning, weapons that could destroy entire continents. The assembled representatives watched in horror as humans fought each other with increasing brutality across thousands of years. Observe their nature, Veltar said. In just their recorded history, they have fought over 14,000 major wars. They created weapons capable of sterilizing their own planet not once but dozens of times over. They practice something they call total war, where entire populations become targets. They refuse to surrender even when clearly defeated. They have never in their entire history known true peace. The Christek representative sang a note of pure terror. The concept of total war was so alien to most species that their translation system struggled to convey its meaning. But surely, said the ethereal delegate, her voice like wind chimes, they have evolved beyond such primitive behaviors. Surely contact with civilized species has shown them a better way. Veltar's expression became even more disgusted. Sadly, no. Their representative's own planet is currently experiencing what they call proxy conflicts in 17 different regions. Their colonies report 43 separate independence movements. Their military, which they maintain despite having no enemies, consumes 30% of their total resources. These are not beings ready for civilization. They are barely contained savages. He turned to face Sarah Chen directly. Human, your species has been weighed and measured. You have been found lacking in every category that matters. Your technology is primitive. Your culture is violent. Your psychology is unstable. You are not ready to join civilized society. Sarah Chen stood slowly. Her movements were precise, controlled. Something about the way she moved made several predator species in the chamber shift uncomfortably in their seats. "What are your terms?" she asked. Veltar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Terms? You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. This is an intervention. Your species will surrender all colonies beyond your home system immediately. You will submit to a civilization assessment that will take approximately 50 of your years. During this time, proper species will govern your worlds and teach you acceptable behavior. Your military will be disbanded. Your weapons will be destroyed. Your people will learn their place in the cosmic order." The chamber buzzed with approval. This was how things should be done. Primitive species needed guidance. They needed to be protected from themselves, and others needed to be protected from them. "And if we refuse?" Sarah Chen asked. The question was so unexpected that the chamber fell silent. Refusing the wisdom of the council was unthinkable. No species had ever been so foolish. Beltar's smile became predatory. "Then you will learn why the Galactic Confederation has brought peace to this galaxy for 3,000 years. A small demonstration of civilized power will quickly show you the futility of resistance. Your tiny fleet will be swept away. Your worlds will be occupied. Your people will learn obedience whether they choose to or not." He gestured to the display showing human military assets. Primitive ships scattered across a few dozen systems. Ancient weapons based on chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Defense networks that any proper civilization could overcome in hours. The choice is simple, human. Accept guidance now or accept it after we are forced to educate you more directly. Either way, your species will learn to behave properly. Sarah Chen looked around the chamber. 47 civilizations all nodding in agreement. Hundreds of worlds supporting this decision. Technology beyond human understanding. Weapons that could turn planets to dust. Ships that could cross the galaxy in days. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and her words were transmitted instantly across space to Earth and every human colony. "Council members," she said, her voice still calm, "thank you for making your position clear. I will deliver your message to my government. However, I feel I should inform you that my species has a saying. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." The translation system struggled with the concept. Most species had no equivalent for liberty or tyrant in their languages. Veltar waved dismissively. "Pretty words will not save you, human. You have 30 standard days to comply. Use them wisely." Sarah Chen bowed slightly, a gesture that somehow managed to seem both respectful and mocking. "Thank you for the warning. My people will be very interested to learn that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations have declared war on us." "War?" Veltar laughed. "This is not war, primitive. This is pest control." As Sarah Chen left the chamber, none of the assembled representatives noticed the small smile on her face. None of them understood what they had just done. They had mistaken humanity's greatest strength for weakness, their greatest advantage for a flaw. They thought they were about to educate some primitive savages about civilization. They had no idea they had just declared war on the most dangerous predators the universe had ever produced. Sarah Chen stood before the United Defense Council in Geneva. The room was deep underground, built to survive anything short of a direct nuclear strike. Holographic displays showed every human colony across known space. Representatives from Earth's major nations sat alongside colonial governors and military commanders. "They gave us 30 days, Sarah said, placing the formal declaration on the table. "Complete surrender of all colonies beyond Earth's system. Dismantling of our military. Acceptance of their guidance for the next 50 years. Secretary General Maria Santos picked up the document. Her weathered face showed no emotion as she read. Around the table, other leaders did the same. The silence stretched for long minutes. "What's the assessment of their military capabilities?" asked General Zhang Wei, Earth's highest-ranking military officer. Admiral Jessica Torres activated a holographic display. "Overwhelming by any conventional measure. The Hegemony Alliance alone has over 3,000 capital ships. Their energy weapons can crack planets. Their shields can stop anything we currently deploy. Their faster-than-light travel is at least 50 times more efficient than ours." "How many total civilizations are we talking about?" asked Colonial Governor Hassan from New Damascus. 47 species in the Confederation, Sarah replied. Combined population somewhere around 800 billion sentient beings. Combined fleet strength estimated at over 50,000 major vessels. Industrial capacity that spans thousands of worlds. General Zhang pulled up Earth's military statistics. We have approximately 400 ships capable of interstellar travel, maybe 24 that could be called warships by their standards. Our total military personnel across all colonies is less than 10 million. The numbers hung in the air like a death sentence. By every logical calculation, humanity should surrender immediately. The math was simple and brutal. There's something else, Sarah said quietly. During my time at the Council, I had access to their databases. With help from our intelligence networks, we've been studying their psychology, their tactics, their history for 5 years now. She activated another display. This one showed detailed files on each alien species. Behavioral patterns, cultural analysis, military doctrine. The hegemony hasn't fought a real war in over 1,000 years, she continued. None of these species have. They've had some small conflicts, some police actions against primitive worlds, but nothing approaching total war. Their military doctrine is based on overwhelming technological superiority and rapid surrender by inferior opponents. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Council's chief xenobiologist, leaned forward. We've analyzed their evolutionary backgrounds. The hegemony evolved from herd animals on a world with few predators. The Christek developed on a planet with abundant resources and no competition. The Zephyrians have a hive mind that evolved from insects on a world where cooperation was always more beneficial than conflict. What's your point? Asked President Kim of the Pacific Alliance. None of them understand us, Elena said simply. They see our history of warfare and think we're chaotic and primitive. They don't understand that war shaped us, made us what we are. Every human alive today is descended from the survivors of countless conflicts, natural disasters, predator attacks, and environmental catastrophes. General Zhang smiled grimly. They think our military spending is wasteful. They don't understand that we've been preparing for this exact scenario since first contact. The display changed again, showing hidden military installations across the solar system, bases inside asteroids, weapon platforms disguised as mining equipment, ships that looked like civilian transports but were actually military vessels. Operation Trojan Horse has been active for 3 years, Admiral Torres explained. Every colony that looks defenseless has hidden military infrastructure. Every merchant ship that's visited alien space has been gathering intelligence. Every cultural exchange has been a reconnaissance mission. Sarah activated a new file. We've identified critical weaknesses in every major species. The hegemony's hive command structure has no redundancy. Take out the command ship, and their entire fleet becomes confused. The Christek communicate through harmonic resonance. Disrupt their frequency, and they can't coordinate. The Vorthak rely entirely on their physical strength and simple energy shields. Kinetic weapons bypass their defenses completely. You're talking about actually fighting them, said Governor Chen from New Taiwan. The casualties would be enormous. The casualties from surrender would be worse, replied General Zhang. They plan to occupy our worlds for 50 years minimum. Study us like laboratory animals. Break our culture, our independence, our humanity itself. Secretary General Santos stood slowly. Dr. Vasquez, in your professional opinion, what happens if we fight? Elena consulted her notes. Massive casualties on both sides, but we have advantages they don't understand. Humans are persistence hunters. We don't give up. We adapt faster than any species we've encountered. We think tactically in ways that confuse them. And most importantly, we're not afraid of mutually assured destruction. Explain that last part, Santos said. Every other species in the galaxy evolved cooperation as their primary survival strategy, Elena said. When faced with a threat that could destroy them, their instinct is to submit or flee. Humans evolved as both predators and prey. When cornered, our instinct is to make sure that whatever's trying to kill us dies too, even if it costs us everything. The room fell silent again. Everyone understood what she was saying. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their willingness to fight even when they couldn't win. Admiral Torres brought up the final display. We've run every simulation. If we surrender, humanity ceases to exist as an independent species. If we fight, we might lose, but we'll make them pay such a price that no one will ever try to dominate us again. What about the colonies? asked Governor Hassan. Some of them don't have military protection. Every colony has evacuation plans, Sarah replied. But more importantly, every colonist knows what's at stake. We've been preparing them for this possibility for years. Underground shelters, hidden supply caches, guerrilla training. They're not helpless civilians anymore. General Zhang activated one more file. There's something else. Our psychologists have been studying human behavior under extreme stress. When we're pushed to our limits, we don't break down like other species. We become more dangerous. The file showed historical examples. Humans fighting impossible odds and winning through pure determination. Last stands that became victories. Defeated armies that refused to stay defeated. They expect us to surrender when we see their superior force. Zhang continued. They expect rational behavior based on mathematical disadvantage. They don't understand that humans have never been particularly rational when it comes to survival. Secretary General Santos looked around the room. All in favor of formal rejection of the Confederation's demands? Every hand rose. Not one person hesitated. All in favor of immediate military mobilization? Again, unanimous agreement. Santos nodded. Admiral Torres, begin Operation Hornet's Nest. Dr. Vasquez, activate the xenobiology warfare protocols. General Zhang, I want every human colony ready for siege within 72 hours. She turned to Sarah. Send our response to the Galactic Council. Sarah smiled for the first time since returning from the alien capital. What should it say? Keep it simple, Santos replied. Tell them we respectfully decline their generous offer. Tell them that if they want our worlds, they're welcome to come and take them. As the council dispersed to begin preparations, none of them spoke about the odds against them. None of them mentioned the massive technological disadvantage. None of them suggested surrender. They were human. They had been preparing for this fight for millions of years of evolution, thousands of years of history, and 5 years of careful planning. The aliens had just declared war on the only species in the galaxy that actually understood what war meant. And they were about to learn the difference between police action and total war. Fleet Commander HFY stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Glory. Through the viewports, he could see 11 other massive warships hanging in space like sleeping giants. Each vessel was over 2 kilometers long, armed with weapons that could shatter moons, protected by shields that had never been breached. Status report, he commanded, his 4 arms moving across the control surfaces. Long-range sensors show the human colony of New Sparta directly ahead, reported his tactical officer. No defensive satellites detected. No patrol ships. No energy signatures indicating military presence. HFY's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. As expected, they have seen the wisdom of surrender. The human colony appeared on the main display, a modest world with a few small cities, some agricultural areas, and basic industrial facilities. Perhaps 2 million humans living simple lives on the edge of civilization. Communications. Transmit the standard pacification message, HFY ordered. The transmission went out in clear human language. Attention, human colonists. This is Fleet Commander HFY of the Hegemony Alliance. By order of the Galactic Council, you will evacuate this world immediately. Transport ships will arrive within 6 hours to relocate you to proper supervision. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. They waited. The response came quickly. This is Governor Martinez of New Sparta. We respectfully decline your invitation to leave. Have a nice day. HFY's tactical officer looked confused. Sir, should we repeat the message? Perhaps their translation systems malfunctioned. No malfunction, HFY said grimly. They choose to learn the hard way. Begin orbital bombardment of military targets. Avoid civilian areas for now. The problem was there were no obvious military targets. The cities looked defenseless. No shield generators, no weapon platforms, no military bases visible from orbit. Sir, said the sensor operator, I'm not detecting any military installations. Then target their government buildings, HFY commanded. A show of force will bring them to reason. The Eternal Glory rotated its massive guns toward the planet. Energy weapons that could melt through starship armor, focused on the colonial Capitol building. The beam lanced down from space, a column of destruction that should have vaporized everything within a kilometer radius. Instead, the beam struck an energy shield, not a sophisticated alien shield, but something crude and primitive. The beam scattered and dissipated, leaving the building untouched. Impossible, breathed the tactical officer. That technology doesn't exist. More energy signatures began appearing across the planet. Hidden installations coming online, weapon emplacements rising from concealed positions, ships emerging from asteroid fields that sensors had dismissed as natural formations. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet." The main screen flickered, showing a human female in military uniform. Behind her, Zexai could see what looked like a command center built into solid rock. "Fleet Commander Zexai," the human said calmly. "This is Colonel Sarah Martinez, New Sparta Defense Force. You are trespassing in sovereign human space. You have exactly 30 seconds to withdraw, or we will consider your presence an act of war." Zexai's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Human, you are surrounded by 12 dreadnoughts of the Hegemony Alliance. Your primitive shields cannot withstand our full firepower. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to civilized conventions." 20 seconds, Martinez replied, checking a chronometer on her wrist. "You cannot be serious," Zexai said. "You are threatening warships with technology beyond your comprehension." 10 seconds, this is madness. "You will all die." 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Martinez smiled. "Time's up. All units execute Protocol 7. The display went dark. For a moment, space around New Sparta seemed empty except for the 12 alien dreadnoughts. Then, the asteroids began moving. What Zexai had dismissed as natural space debris suddenly revealed themselves as camouflaged human vessels. Dozens of ships that had been drifting silent and cold suddenly ignited their engines and opened fire. The weapons were primitive by galactic standards. Kinetic projectiles instead of energy beams. Chemical explosives instead of quantum disruptors. But they were fast, numerous, and completely unexpected. The first salvo took out 3 dreadnoughts before their shields could adapt. The human weapons weren't trying to overwhelm alien defenses with raw power. They were using tactics the aliens had never encountered. "Return fire," Zexai commanded. "All weapons target those ships." The alien fleet began turning their massive guns on the human vessels. Energy beams lanced through space, destroying several human ships in brilliant explosions. But for every human ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to appear from hiding. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, his voice strained. "The human ships aren't fighting like any fleet we've encountered. They're not maintaining formation. They're not following standard engagement protocols. They're acting like a pack of predators." Zexai watched in growing horror as the human ships swarmed around his fleet. They weren't trying to match the alien ship for ship. Instead, they were concentrating their fire on one target at a time, overwhelming individual vessels before moving to the next. Worse, they were targeting specific systems. Not trying to destroy the ships outright, but crippling engines, communication arrays, weapon systems. Leaving the alien crews alive but helpless. "They're using our own formation against us," the tactical officer continued. "When we turn to engage one group, another group attacks from behind. When we try to retreat, they block our escape routes." A new alarm sounded. "Sir, something just attached to our hull." On the external monitors, Zexai could see small human craft that had somehow gotten past all their defenses. They weren't trying to destroy the Eternal Glory, they were trying to board it. "Impossible," he said. "Our point defense systems should have stopped them." "Sir," the sensor operator said quietly, "I don't think they're using normal approach vectors. They're coming in from directions our weapons can't cover. They're using our own ships as cover, timing their approach with our weapon cycles." The boarding alerts multiplied. Human soldiers were cutting through the hull in a dozen places. But these weren't normal boarding actions. The humans weren't trying to capture the ship. They were planting explosives on critical systems and retreating. "All hands, repel boarders," Zexai commanded. "Security teams to all breach points." But the humans were already gone. They had struck fast, planted their charges, and disappeared back into space before the alien security teams could respond. The explosions came minutes later, crippling the ship's main reactor and leaving it dead in space. Around them, the rest of the fleet was suffering similar attacks. The humans had turned the engagement into exactly the kind of fight they wanted. Close range, chaotic, using tactics that no civilized species would consider. "Sir," communications reported, "we're receiving another transmission from the planet." Colonel Martinez appeared on screen again. Behind her, Zexai could see tactical displays showing the battle in real time. "Fleet Commander," she said conversationally, "you now have 8 functional ships out of 12. Your formation is broken. Your communications are jammed and you're surrounded by approximately 40 human vessels that you didn't know existed until 10 minutes ago. I'm offering you one chance to withdraw with your remaining ships. Zexai's voice was strained. This is impossible. Your technology is primitive. Your tactics are barbaric. How are you defeating superior forces? Martinez smiled again, and this time there was something predatory in her expression. Commander, you made the same mistake that predators made on our homeworld for millions of years. You assumed that because we looked weak, we actually were weak. You never considered that maybe we survived our death world not despite being surrounded by bigger, stronger, faster predators, but because we learned how to kill them anyway. She gestured to the tactical display. Your ships are bigger than ours. Your weapons are more powerful. Your shields are stronger, but you're also slower, less maneuverable, and you think like prey animals. You bunch up for protection. You follow predictable patterns. You assume that superior technology equals automatic victory. Another human ship appeared on the screen, this one launching something toward the eternal glory. What is that? Zexai demanded. Nuclear warhead, Martinez replied casually. Very primitive by your standards. But it doesn't need to penetrate your shields. It just needs to get close enough to disrupt them for a few seconds. The warhead detonated in a brilliant flash. The eternal glory's shields flickered and failed. Immediately, dozens of human projectiles slammed into the hull, crippling the ship's remaining systems. You're fighting like animals, Zexai protested. Exactly, Martinez agreed. And that's why we're winning. You came here expecting to intimidate some primitive colonists. Instead, you found humans who have been preparing for this fight for years. We studied your tactics, your weaknesses, your psychology. We know that your species has trouble adapting to rapid tactical changes. We know that you expect opponents to fight honorably according to galactic conventions. She leaned forward. Commander, humans don't fight honorably. We fight to win. And we're very, very good at it. Zexai looked around his crippled bridge. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. The survivors were scattered and demo. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from all 47 member species had gathered within hours of receiving Fleet Commander Zexai's report. The crystal chambers buzzed with panicked communication in dozens of languages. Ambassador Veltar stood at the center podium, but his usual confidence was gone. His blue skin had paled to almost white, and his voice shook as he spoke. The initial police action at New Sparta has resulted in unexpected difficulties, he announced. Of the 12 dreadnoughts sent to secure the human colony, 4 were completely destroyed, 4 more were disabled beyond repair, and only 4 managed to withdraw in functional condition. The chamber erupted in shocked chatter. The Christek delegation sang discordant notes of disbelief. The ethereal representative flickered between dimensions in agitation. Even the massive Vorthak shifted uncomfortably in their reinforced seats. How is this possible? Demanded the Zephyrian hive speaker. Our intelligence showed the humans had no significant military presence in that system. The humans appear to have been preparing for conflict, Veltar admitted. Their defensive installations were hidden, their ships were camouflaged, their tactics were unlike anything in our military databases. Supreme Commander Thexara of the Christek Coalition rose, his crystal body chiming with authority. Then we will not make the same mistake twice. The Christek offer our full military support. Our harmonic weapons will shatter their primitive defenses. As do the Vorthak, rumbled General Krex, his massive form dwarfing the other representatives. Our battle cruisers will crush these insects before they can use their cowardly tricks. One by one, other species offered their military forces. The Ethereals with their phase-shifting technology, the Nexari with their bioorganic ships, the Stellarch with their quantum disruptors. Within an hour, the largest military alliance in galactic history had formed. The combined fleet will number over 5,000 capital ships, Veltar announced, his confidence returning. No primitive species can stand against such overwhelming force. What none of them knew was that every word of their planning session was being recorded and transmitted to human intelligence networks throughout the galaxy. 3 weeks later, the Ur assembled alien armada arrived at the human colony of Kepler's Hope. This time, they took no chances. Long-range sensors swept every asteroid, every piece of debris. Energy detectors searched for hidden bases. Quantum scanners looked for cloaked ships. They found nothing. The colony appears to be genuinely undefended, reported Admiral Thexara from the flagship Crystal Harmony. No hidden installations, no camouflaged vessels. Perhaps the humans learned wisdom from their defeat at New Sparta. General Krex's laughter boomed across the communication channels. Or perhaps they simply ran away like the cowards they are. The massive alien fleet moved into orbit around Kepler's Hope. 5,000 ships representing the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. Enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. The demand for surrender was transmitted to the planet below. The response came quickly. "This is Governor Jackson of Kepler's Hope. We're just farmers and miners here. We don't have any weapons. Please don't hurt us." The aliens relaxed. This was more like what they had expected from primitive humans. "You have 6 hours to evacuate," Admiral Thexara transmitted. "Transport ships will arrive to relocate you to proper facilities." But as the 6 hours passed, something strange happened. The human evacuation ships that launched from the planet didn't head for the alien transports. Instead, they spread out through the system, taking seemingly random courses. "Should we intercept them?" asked Captain Vex of the ethereal forces. "Let them run," Admiral Thexara decided. "It saves us the trouble of relocating them." That was their first mistake. The human ships weren't evacuating. They were deploying. As night fell on the alien fleet, the attacks began. But this time, the humans had learned from New Sparta. They didn't engage in direct combat. Instead, they used tactics that the aliens couldn't even comprehend. The first sign of trouble was when crew members aboard the Vorthak battleship Stone Crusher began reporting strange sounds in the ventilation systems. Then the lights started failing. Then crew members began disappearing. "We have intruders aboard," General Krex reported. "But our sensors show no breaches in the hull." Similar reports came from dozens of ships throughout the fleet. Humans were somehow getting aboard alien vessels without triggering any alarms. They weren't fighting the crews directly. Instead, they were sabotaging critical systems, planting psychological warfare devices, and vanishing before security teams could respond. "How are they getting aboard our ships?" demanded Captain Ziloth of the Nexari biocruiser Living Death. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Yixtal, a Christek scientist, had been analyzing the human evacuation patterns. "They're not getting aboard," he announced over the fleet communication network. "They were already aboard." "Impossible," Admiral Thexara protested. "All ships were scanned before departure." The scans looked for weapons, explosives, obvious threats, Dr. Yixtal explained. "They didn't look for humans. These creatures have been infiltrating our ships for months, possibly years, disguised as maintenance workers, cultural exchange students, trade representatives. They've been studying our technology, mapping our ships, preparing for this exact scenario." The revelation sent panic through the alien fleet. How many humans were aboard their ships? What were they planning? How could they trust any of their crew members? But the psychological warfare was just beginning. The humans began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not military communications, but something far more disturbing. Human music. Specifically, the kind of music humans played when they went to war. The aliens had studied human culture. They knew that humans used sound and rhythm to coordinate group activities, but they had never experienced the psychological impact of human war songs. The music was designed to inspire humans and terrify enemies, driving rhythms that matched the human heartbeat, lyrics that spoke of death before dishonor, of fighting against impossible odds, of making the enemy pay for every inch of ground. For species that had evolved cooperation and harmony, the music was literally traumatic. Christek crew members began resonating with the chaotic frequencies, disrupting their communication networks. Ethereal soldiers found themselves unable to phase shift properly. Even the mighty Vorthak began showing signs of stress. But the music was just a distraction. While the alien crews were dealing with the psychological assault, the humans aboard their ships were implementing Phase 2 of their plan. "Admiral," reported Captain Nexara from the destroyer Swift Justice, "our navigation systems have been compromised. We're receiving false positional data." "Same here," called General Krex. My ship's computer thinks we're in a completely different star system." Across the fleet, the same reports came in. The humans had infiltrated not just the ships, but their computer networks. Navigation systems showed false data. Communication arrays transmitted misleading information. Weapon targeting systems developed mysterious malfunctions. Within hours, the most advanced fleet in galactic history was blind, deaf, and lost. "This is impossible," Admiral Thexara said, his crystal voice cracking with stress. "Our cybersecurity protocols are perfect. No primitive species should be able to penetrate our networks." The response came from an unexpected source, a human voice, speaking perfect Christec harmonic language, broadcast across all fleet frequencies. "Admiral Thexara, this is Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, formerly a cultural exchange student aboard your flagship. Your cybersecurity protocols are indeed perfect for defending against civilized species who attack networks directly. Unfortunately for you, humans don't attack your networks. We become part of them." On the main screen of every ship in the fleet, a human face appeared. Young, female, smiling with predatory satisfaction. "For the past 2 years, I've been living aboard your ship, learning your language, studying your technology, gaining your trust. I wasn't trying to steal your secrets or sabotage your systems. I was becoming invisible. Just another crew member that everyone knew, but no one really noticed." The implications hit the alien commanders like a physical blow. The humans hadn't infiltrated their fleet. They had integrated with it. "How many?" Admiral Thexara whispered. "Every major ship in your fleet has at least one human cultural exchange student, or trade representative, or maintenance specialist," Kim replied cheerfully. "We've been preparing for this war longer than you've been planning it. We knew you would come eventually, so we made sure we were ready." She gestured, and the display showed the real scope of human infiltration. Hundreds of humans, scattered throughout the alien fleet, all revealing themselves simultaneously. "You see, Admiral, you made the same mistake that every predator species on our homeworld made. You thought that because we looked harmless, we actually were harmless. You never considered that maybe the reason humans survived our death world wasn't luck or technology. Maybe it's because we're really, really good at killing things that are bigger and stronger than we are." The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. The Galactic Council chambers had never been designed for war. The crystal walls built to reflect the beauty of peaceful civilization now showed the ugly reality of defeat. Emergency lighting cast harsh shadows across representatives who looked nothing like the confident leaders they had been just months before. Only 19 of the original 47 species still had representatives present. The others had withdrawn from the council entirely, focusing on defending their home systems from the human advance that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Ambassador Veltar no longer stood at the central podium. His position had been given to Supreme Military Coordinator Kextal, a Vorthak whose massive frame was covered in battle scars from a dozen desperate engagements with human forces. "The situation report," Kextal announced, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "In the past 4 months, human forces have attacked 17 different star systems, not to conquer or occupy, but to destroy our military infrastructure and disappear before reinforcements could arrive." The remaining representatives listened in stunned silence. The humans were fighting a war unlike anything in galactic history. They didn't hold territory. They didn't establish bases. They struck like ghosts, destroying everything military in a system and vanishing before counterattacks could be organized. "What are our total losses?" asked the ethereal delegate, her form flickering with stress. "Approximately 60% of all military vessels," Kextal replied. "But that's not the worst part. We've also lost 40% of our industrial capacity, 30% of our communication networks, and virtually all of our deep space monitoring stations." "How is this possible?" demanded the Christec representative. "Our technology is still superior to theirs." "Is it?" Kextal asked grimly. "Intelligence reports indicate that human ships are now using energy weapons as powerful as ours. Their shields can withstand our standard weaponry. Their faster-than-light drives are actually more efficient than our own because they've improved our designs." He activated a holographic display showing recent battle footage. Human ships moved through space with a fluid grace that no alien vessel could match. Their tactics were impossible to predict. their strategies incomprehensible. They learn faster than we can adapt, Kextal continued. Every battle teaches them something new about our capabilities while revealing nothing about theirs. They fight like they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. What about negotiations? Asked the Nexari delegate. Surely we can reach some accommodation? We've tried, Veltar said from his seat among the regular delegates. The humans sent a response to our latest peace overture. It consisted of a single sentence: surrender unconditionally, or we will come to your home systems. The chamber fell silent. In galactic history, no species had ever threatened to attack the core worlds of the Confederation. It was unthinkable, impossible, barbaric. They wouldn't dare, whispered the ethereal representative. 6 hours ago, Kextal announced, human forces appeared in the Hegemony home system. They disabled the orbital defense platforms around Hegemony Prime, destroyed the entire home fleet, and transmitted a message to the planetary government. He activated another display. The image that appeared was burned into the memory of every being who had seen it. Ambassador Sarah Chen, standing on the bridge of a human warship, with the Hegemony homeworld visible through the viewports behind her. Citizens of the Hegemony, her recorded message began. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen of the United Human Defense Force. As you can see, your military has failed to protect you. Your orbital defenses have been neutralized. Your fleet has been destroyed. Your world is now at our mercy. She paused, letting the implications sink in. However, we are not here to conquer or occupy your world. We are here to deliver a message. Your government declared war on humanity without understanding what they were fighting. Today you learn the price of that ignorance. The image shifted to show the wreckage of the Hegemony fleet floating in space around their homeworld. This could have been your cities, Chen continued. This could have been your people. We have the power to crack your planet like an egg, to boil your oceans, to make your world uninhabitable for 1,000,000 years. But we won't. Not because we lack the ability, but because we are not you. She stepped closer to the camera. Humans fight to defend ourselves and our freedom. We do not fight to enslave or exterminate other species. But make no mistake, if you continue this war, if you continue to threaten our colonies and our people, we will end your civilization's ability to make war forever. The message had been transmitted to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The psychological impact was devastating. The most advanced military power in galactic history had been rendered helpless by a species they had dismissed as primitive barbarians. But the real shock came next. The chamber doors opened, and Ambassador Sarah Chen walked in. She was alone, unarmed, wearing a simple diplomatic uniform. Behind her came Dr. Elena Vasquez, carrying what appeared to be scientific equipment. No guards, no weapons, no apparent protection of any kind. The remaining council members stared in disbelief. The leader of the species that had brought the galaxy to its knees was standing in the middle of their most secure facility, completely vulnerable. Greetings, Sarah said calmly. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I believe it's time we had an honest conversation about what's really happening here. Kextal's massive hand moved toward a concealed weapon. You dare come here? After what your species has done? What we've done, Sarah replied, is defend ourselves against unprovoked aggression. What you've done is declare war on a species you didn't understand and couldn't defeat. Now we're going to explain why. Dr. Vasquez activated her equipment and holographic displays filled the chamber. Not battle footage or military statistics, but something far more disturbing. Evolutionary charts, psychological profiles, environmental data. Ladies, gentlemen, and other beings, Elena began, you have been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about human nature. You saw our history of warfare and assumed we were chaotic and primitive. You saw our death world origin and assumed we were weak survivors who got lucky. The displays showed Earth as it really was, not just a harsh environment, but a planet where everything was actively trying to kill everything else. Predators, diseases, weather systems, geological instability, even the plants and bacteria were engaged in constant warfare. You evolved on worlds where cooperation was the primary survival strategy, Elena continued. Worlds with abundant resources, stable climates, and predictable threats. You developed intelligence to manage complex social structures and efficient resource distribution. The display shifted to show the evolutionary history of various galactic species. Peaceful development, gradual technological advancement, social cooperation. Humans evolved on a world where competition was the primary survival strategy, Elena said. Everything on Earth evolved to be more efficient at killing or avoiding being killed. Intelligence wasn't for managing society. It was for outsmarting predators, outcompeting rivals, and surviving in an environment that actively tried to eliminate us. Sarah stepped forward. Do you know what humans call our evolutionary strategy? We call it persistence hunting. We don't try to be faster or stronger than our prey. We chase it until it collapses from exhaustion. We don't give up. We don't get tired. We just keep coming until our target can't run anymore. The alien representatives were beginning to understand, and the realization was terrifying. Every other species in this galaxy, Sarah continued, when faced with a superior predator, evolved strategies to hide, flee, or submit. When humans faced superior predators, we evolved strategies to kill them anyway. Elena activated another display, this one showing human psychological profiles under stress. When most species experience overwhelming pressure, their performance degrades. They become confused, panicked, unable to function effectively. When humans experience overwhelming pressure, we enter what we call combat mode. Our thinking becomes clearer, our reactions faster, our determination absolute. She gestured to the data. You've been fighting us for months now. Your crews are showing signs of severe psychological breakdown, battle fatigue, panic disorders, inability to function under stress. Do you want to know what our psychological evaluations show? Sarah smiled, and there was something predatory in her expression. Our soldiers are getting better. More experienced, more confident, more effective. What you call trauma, we call training. Kextal's voice was hollow. What do you want from us? Originally? Membership in your confederation, Sarah replied. Recognition as an equal species with equal rights. Trade agreements, cultural exchange, peaceful coexistence. She gestured around the chamber. But you chose to treat us as primitives to be conquered and educated. You chose war over diplomacy. You chose to test your strength against the one species in the galaxy that evolved specifically to destroy things stronger than itself. Elena activated the final display. This one showed Earth's future expansion plans. Not conquest or colonization, but something that made the aliens' worst fears look trivial. Humans reproduce faster than any species you've encountered, Elena explained. We adapt to new environments more quickly.